There's a common lie that we've been led to believe about happiness. We've been told that happiness exists in rest and relaxation, like sitting on a beach and doing nothing. And while that can be nice, if we're really honest with ourselves, then we'd probably realize that we actually feel the happiness when we're actively engaged in an activity that we can really lose ourselves in. My name is Travis, and I'm a therapist who's passionate about helping you create real change in your life with practical strategies that actually work. And today, we're going into what may be the biggest secret to happiness that no one is talking about. It's something called flow state. The term flow state was coined by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in the 1960s and 70s when he was observing artists who became so deeply immersed in their work that nothing else around them seemed to matter. He conducted psychological studies in the following decades, and what he saw time and time again, he saw that people reported themselves to be the happiest and most fulfilled when they were involved in these flow states. So what is a flow state? You may have heard of the flow state described as a state where you're completely involved in a single activity, otherwise known as being in the zone. It's where you're doing something and there's nothing else on your mind to distract you from the activity. You become one with whatever you're doing and you lose yourself in the activity. Let's take an athlete, for example. The most common thing that you keep hearing from athletes whenever they start to play bad is that they got in their own head. They took their eye off the ball and started looking at themselves instead. And in doing so, they broke the flow state that they were in and started thinking when they should have just been doing. For lack of a better words, a flow state is when you're able to do something and just turn your brain off and really focus on what you're doing without all your other thoughts distracting you. It is a deep, genuine engagement with ourselves in the present moment. Flow state is a state of being where you're completely absorbed in the activity to the point where you lose track of time and self-consciousness. Think back to a time when you were doing an activity and you couldn't take yourself away from it. Maybe you were playing a sport, maybe you were doing a great set in the gym, and your mind was completely still aside from the activity that you were currently doing. How did you feel in that moment? Maybe happy, maybe fulfilled, maybe purposeful. And the reason that flow state works like this and actually allows us to access all these positive emotions is because it removes two things from the picture. When we're in flow state, we're not aware of time and we're not aware of ourselves. And worrying about time passing and our own self-consciousness are two enormous contributors to our anxiety and overall unhappiness. So removing these factors from the picture gives us space to genuinely be happy in the present moment. But how do we get into flow state? How do we really implement this into our everyday lives? Getting into a flow state, whether we're at work or we're at school or we're doing hobbies, really comes down to doing two things. The first part of it is identifying activities that we actually enjoy and feel purposeful when doing them. And the second part of it is removing distractions from whatever we're doing. We need to remove distractions from our current environment so that our brain can actually focus on the task that we're trying to get lost in. Flow state is not an immediate thing, and it takes some time to get into the zone. And if we're constantly distracted by a phone notification going off or a TV off to the side or anything that's distracting us from the present moment is going to break up that process and break up the momentum that we're using to get into that flow state. Having constant distractions destroys our ability to completely get lost in an activity. You want to identify healthy flow state activities that you can implement into your daily and weekly routines and make them a priority. Maybe for you, this is playing sports, cooking, making art, spending time with friends, anything that completely draws you into the activity. Commit to removing distractions from your current activities and be purposeful in implementing activities that you can access flow state with. And as you allow yourself to access more flow states in your life, you'll feel happier, more purposeful, and more motivated throughout your day. If you're looking to transform the way that you focus to help you get into more flow states, click on this video here. Let me know in the comments what your favorite activity to get in the flow state is, and remember to hit life on all cylinders.